$55,000. That is how much my brother stole from me before he vanished. I found the proof scattered across the guest room floor like confetti from a nightmare. Withdrawal slips, every single one forged with my signature. 20,000 here, 35,000 there. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold them. The room was empty. His suitcase gone. His clothes gone. Even the picture frames I had put on the dresser, photos of us as kids laughing at Cannon Beach, were stripped bare. Just empty glass reflecting my pale face. On the pillow, a note, "Sorry, Selena. Cassandra says we need a fresh start. Don't look for us." Dorian was 41 years old, and he had run like a thief in the night. I collapsed onto the bed, the forged slips pressed against my chest, trying to breathe. And then I heard footsteps downstairs. Light, quick. My 12-year-old son was awake, and he was smiling. "Mom." Rowan stood in the doorway, still in his wrinkled Star Wars t-shirt, hair sticking up on one side. His eyes locked onto the forged slips in my hands. "What happened? Where's Uncle Dorian?" I couldn't breathe. 3 months ago, Dorian had shown up at our door the Sunday before Thanksgiving, broke and desperate after losing his sales job in Seattle. I had let him stay. I had trusted him. And now he was gone, along with $55,000 and a woman who wasn't even real. Rowan stepped closer, his bare feet silent on the carpet. He crouched beside me and picked up one of the withdrawal slips, his face eerily calm. "Mom, don't worry. I handled it." "What?" My voice cracked. "Handled what?" He pulled out a phone I had never seen before. Sleek, black, expensive looking. With a few quick swipes, he showed me a mugshot. A woman with dark hair and cold eyes stared back at me. Catherine Voss, wanted in Nevada, California, and Arizona for fraud, identity theft, and assault. "That's Cassandra," Rowan said flatly. "She's a con artist. Uncle Dorian's been talking to her every night for 2 weeks. I tracked his phone. I copied his texts. I found her real name and sent everything to the Portland Police Bureau this morning." "You what?" "I tracked his location too, Mom. He's headed south on Interstate 5. They'll catch him before he hits Eugene." My 12-year-old son just admitted to hacking his uncle's phone like it was a science project. "How?" I whispered. "How do you even know how to do this?" He shrugged, tucking the phone back into his pocket. "YouTube, Reddit. It's not that hard if you know where to look. Public records are free. I just had to connect the dots." His tone was so casual, so detached, like he was explaining how to make a sandwich. I stared at him, this boy who still asked me to make him hot chocolate with extra marshmallows. And for the first time, I felt a chill crawl up my spine. "Rowan, you can't just," I started, but a sharp knock from downstairs cut me off. 3 hard raps. Official, final. I stumbled to my feet, legs shaking, and made my way down the stairs. Rowan followed, his footsteps light and soundless. Through the frosted glass of the front door, I saw 2 figures in navy blue uniforms. My heart hammered against my ribs. I opened the door. "Mrs. Marlowe?" The taller one asked. He had kind eyes, but a voice that meant business. "I'm Detective Halverson, Portland Police Bureau. This is Officer Diaz. May we come in?" I nodded, stepping aside. They walked into the living room, and Rowan slid into the armchair by the window, folding his hands in his lap like a perfect little gentleman. Detective Halverson pulled a folder from under his arm and set it on the coffee table. "We received a tip early this morning about your brother, Dorian Marlowe. He was apprehended at a gas station off Interstate 5, about 40 miles south of here. He was traveling with a woman we've identified as Catherine Voss." My stomach dropped. I glanced at Rowan. He didn't move, didn't blink, just sat there watching. Officer Diaz slid a stack of photographs across the coffee table. Grainy surveillance images. Dorian at an ATM in downtown Portland, his face clear under the fluorescent lights. Catherine beside him, leaning close, watching. Another photo showed him at a Bank of America on Southeast Division Street, sliding my forged signature across the counter. Then came the printed bank records. Withdrawal after withdrawal, my name, my account, my entire savings drained in less than 48 hours. These withdrawals were made between Tuesday night and Thursday morning, Detective Halverson said, his voice steady. Your brother used a combination of forged documents and insider knowledge of your account details. We believe Miss Voss coached him on how to bypass security questions. I pressed my hand to my mouth, nausea rising in my throat. Oh God, I whispered, the words choking out. How could he do this? Halverson's expression softened. Someone was looking out for you, Mrs. Marlowe. The tip we received this morning included GPS coordinates, detailed travel plans, and copies of text messages between your brother and Miss Voss discussing their route to Mexico. Without that intel, they would have crossed the border by noon. I felt Rowan's eyes on me. I didn't dare look at him. What happens now? I asked. Your brother is being held at Multnomah County Jail. Forgery and identity theft in Oregon carries serious penalties. He's looking at 5 to 10 years if convicted. Miss Voss has outstanding warrants, so she'll be extradited to Nevada first. As for your funds, we've frozen their accounts. You should recover most of the money within 30 days. Relief crashed over me, but it felt hollow. Thank you, I managed. Thank you so much. Halverson stood, tucking the folder under his arm. We'll need you to come down to the station tomorrow to give a formal statement. Until then, you're safe. He glanced at Rowan, still sitting perfectly still in the armchair. You've got a smart kid there. He nodded toward my son. Take care of each other. The moment the door closed behind them, the house fell into suffocating silence. I turned to Rowan. He was staring at the floor, his face blank, unreadable. Rowan, I started, my voice shaking. What you did? I don't even know where to begin. He looked up at me, and for a split second, I saw something flicker behind his eyes. Not guilt, not fear, something colder. I did what I had to do, Mom. He stole from us. Someone had to stop him. But you're 12 years old. You shouldn't have to. I know, he interrupted, his voice soft but firm. But I could, so I did. He stood up, brushing past me toward the kitchen. I'm hungry. Do we have any cereal left? I stood frozen in the living room, my mind spinning. That night, after Rowan had gone to bed, I found a letter on the kitchen counter. It was folded neatly, the word Uncle written across the front in Rowan's careful handwriting. My hands trembled as I unfolded it. Dear Uncle Dorian, I forgive you for stealing from us. I forgive you for choosing a criminal over your family, but forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. Prison has rules. You never liked rules, but maybe they'll finally teach you. You belong there because out here, you only hurt the people who care about you. If you ever try to come back, if you even think about hurting Mom or Grandma again, I'll finish what you started. You tied your own noose when you forged her name. I'll just make sure it holds. Love, Rowan. I read it 3 times, my chest tightening with each pass. The words weren't written by a 12-year-old boy. They were crafted by someone who understood manipulation, who knew how to wound with precision. Forgiveness wrapped in a threat. Mercy sharpened into a blade. I refolded the letter with shaking hands and set it back on the counter. Upstairs, I heard Rowan's door click shut, and in the silence that followed, I realized I was afraid of my own son. The call came 3 days later, just after midnight. I fumbled for my phone, heart pounding. Multnomah County Jail flashed on the screen. Mrs. Marlowe, a woman's voice, clipped and professional. This is Nurse Patterson at OHSU Hospital. Your brother Dorian was brought in from the jail about an hour ago. He's stable, but he's asking for you. What happened? There was an altercation in his cell block. He's been treated for injuries to his neck and ribs. He says it's urgent. I threw on clothes and grabbed my keys. Rowan's door opened before I reached it. He was already dressed, shoes on, like he'd been waiting. I'm coming with you, he said. It wasn't a question. The drive to Oregon Health and Science University took 20 minutes through empty streets. Rowan stared out the window in silence. At the hospital, a nurse led us down a hallway reeking of disinfectant. Dorian lay in the bed, skin gray, purple bruises circling his throat like a collar. When he saw me, desperation flooded his face. "Selina," he rasped, every word painful. "You have to listen. Watch your boy." I pulled a chair close. "Dorian, what are you talking about?" "He knew everything," Dorian whispered, his eyes darting to Rowan in the doorway. "Before I even did it. Cassandra told me. Your son gave her chills, like he could see through her, like he knew what we were planning." I gripped the bed rail. "You're paranoid. You made your choices." "He's not normal," Dorian insisted, his voice cracking. "Whatever you think he is, you're wrong." Before I could respond, my mother rushed in. Martha went straight to Dorian, smoothing his hair with shaking hands. Then she turned to me, eyes flashing. "Don't listen to his lies, Selina. He's trying to blame a child for his own crimes. Rowan is a good boy. The only good thing left in this family." "Mom," I started. "He betrayed us." She cut me off. "And now he's making excuses because he can't face what he's done." She tugged my arm. "Let's go. He needs rest, not more lies." I looked at Dorian's desperate face, then at my mother's resolute one. Finally, I glanced at Rowan. He stood perfectly still, hands in his pockets, expression blank. "Come on, Mom," he said softly. "Grandma's right. Uncle Dorian just needs to sleep." As we left, Dorian's voice followed us down the hall, broken and pleading. "Watch your boy, Selina. Watch your boy." In the parking lot, under harsh sodium lights, Martha squeezed my hand. "Don't let him manipulate you. He's always been good at that." I nodded, throat too tight to speak. The next morning, the house phone rang while I was making coffee. I picked up. "Selina." A woman's voice, sharp and venomous. My blood froze. "I know who tipped off the cops," the voice continued. "Your brother might be stupid enough to fall for it, but I'm not." "Catherine, if you think you're safe," she hissed, "I'll tell Dorian the truth. I'll tell him what his precious nephew really is." The phone was plucked from my hand. Rowan stood beside me, his face calm. He pressed the receiver to his ear. "If you really knew anything," he said, voice cold and steady, "you wouldn't be calling from a burner phone. You'd be running. Which, by the way, you should be." A pause, then a muffled curse. The line went dead. Rowan handed the phone back, expression smooth. "She's bluffing, Mom. Scammers always try to scare you when they're desperate." "How did you know it was her?" I whispered. He shrugged. "Who else would call? Don't worry, she's got nothing." But I saw it, just for a heartbeat, before the mask slid back. A flicker in his eyes. Not fear exactly, uncertainty, maybe even panic. Then it vanished, replaced by that unsettling calm. "See," he said, heading upstairs. "Handled." I stood alone in the kitchen, dial tone humming, and realized something that made my hands shake. I didn't know my son at all, and worse, I was starting to fear him. That evening, I found Rowan at the kitchen table, a notebook open in front of him. His pen moved steadily across the page, brows knit in concentration. He didn't notice me in the doorway. "Homework?" I asked. He shook his head without looking up. "Just drawing strategy stuff." I stepped closer. The page showed a chessboard drawn in perfect squares. But something was off. Every pawn had been advanced, transformed into queens. And in the corner, surrounded with no escape, sat a single king. "What is this?" I asked, my voice tight. Rowan looked up, tilting his head. "It's an endgame position, Mom. Pawns aren't weak if they keep moving forward." He tapped the drawing. The king never saw it coming. I sank into the chair across from him. "Rowan, you're 12 years old. You're not supposed to carry everyone's weight. You need to talk to someone. A counselor. There have to be limits." His expression didn't change. "If that's what you want, sure. I'll go. I'll say all the right things." "That's not what I mean," I said quickly. "I want you to be honest, to feel like a kid again." He set down his pen, studying me with eyes too old for his face. "I can do that, Mom, as long as no one threatens us again." The casual tone made my chest tighten. It wasn't a promise. It was a condition. I stood, legs unsteady, and walked to the counter where his letter to Dorian sat hidden under mail. My hands shook as I picked it up. This letter, were you planning to send it? Rowan's face remained calm. Only if he needed a reminder. Does he? I asked. Need a reminder? He smiled slightly. I don't think so. Not anymore. Prison will teach him everything he needs to know. I stared at my son, this boy who still asked for extra blankets at night. He had planned every step. The surveillance, the police tip, this letter crafted not from anger, but strategy. Rowan, I whispered. What happened to you? What made you like this? He blinked, and for 1 second, the mask slipped. I saw something underneath. Not malice, not cruelty. Loneliness. A vast, aching loneliness buried so deep I'd never noticed. Then it was gone. Nothing happened to me, Mom. I just learned to keep us safe. That's what family does, right? My throat burned. Yes, I managed. That's what family does. I walked upstairs to the fireproof safe where we kept birth certificates and insurance papers, documents we couldn't lose. I placed Rowan's letter inside, beneath the stack, and turned the key. The lock clicked. Final. I was choosing silence, choosing to protect my son, even though I didn't understand what I was protecting him from, or what I was protecting everyone else from. When I came back down, Rowan was at the sink washing his dishes, humming softly. He glanced back and smiled, all brightness and innocence. I forced a smile in return. The notebook still lay open on the table. I looked at the chessboard, at the pawns transformed into queens, at the king with nowhere to run. The next morning, my phone buzzed, a text from the hospital. Dorian had been transferred to the medical unit at the county jail. Recovering, but stable. No visitors allowed except his attorney. I set the phone down, hands trembling. From upstairs came the sound of Rowan's alarm. Then his footsteps crossing the floor. Light, quick, normal. I heard the shower turn on, heard him singing off-key, some pop song from the radio, the sounds of any 12-year-old boy getting ready for school. But I knew better now. I walked to the kitchen window and stared out at our quiet Portland street. Neighbors walking dogs, kids waiting for the school bus. Everything looked normal, safe. And I wondered, as the morning light spilled across the countertops, what game my son was still playing, whether I was a player or just another piece on his board, and most terrifying of all, whether I even wanted to know the answer. 3 weeks passed. The money was returned to my account, minus legal fees. Dorian's trial date was set for late spring. Catherine Voss was extradited to Nevada to face her outstanding warrants. Life on the surface returned to normal. Rowan went to school, did his homework, played video games with his friends online. He helped me fold laundry on Sunday nights and asked what was for dinner like any other kid. My mother came over for breakfast every Saturday, beaming at her grandson, talking about how proud she was of him, how he'd saved our family, how God works through the innocent. I smiled and nodded and poured more coffee. One Saturday morning, I woke to the smell of pancakes drifting through the house. I padded into the kitchen to find Rowan at the stove, flipping golden circles onto a plate. His hair was messy, his feet bare, and he was humming off-key. "Good morning, Mom," he said, sliding a plate toward me. "Coffee's ready too." My mother sat at the table, already halfway through her stack, syrup pooling at the edges. "This boy," she said, shaking her head with a smile. "What would we do without him?" Rowan grinned, that wide, innocent smile I'd known his whole life, and passed her the butter. I sat down across from him, fork in hand, pancakes steaming in front of me. He met my eyes, just for a moment, and in that brief glance I saw it. The calculation, the awareness, the quiet certainty of someone who knew exactly what he was doing. Then he looked away, laughing at something my mother said, and the moment passed. I cut into my pancakes, the taste turning to ash in my mouth. Outside, the morning sun climbed higher over Portland. Birds sang in the trees. The neighborhood woke slowly, peacefully, and I sat at my kitchen table, surrounded by the people I loved most, knowing I had made a choice. Silence was protection, even if I didn't know what came next, even if I feared the answer. What game might he be playing now? I didn't know. And maybe I told myself that was better. Maybe some truths were safer left buried.